we're here again at 950 ArtCenter South Campus, and we're here at the Reveal exhibition. Now, this exhibition is actually closing tomorrow, and so it was ran all of 25, and we had 2 sections of cohorts of graduate students that ran the 9 different disciplines. And so this is our last day of this exhibition, and so we had one more talk we wanted to do with a really super intriguing grad student, a fine arts student, Aylee Rhodes. And the conversation will be led by Gabrielle Jennings, and she's the Associate Chair of Master of Fine Arts here. And so we're excited to bring this to you today, and why don't you come on in. So here's the exhibition, and on this cohort we actually had 13 exhibitors here that ran all the different programs, graduate programs we have here. And so over here you'll see we have Aylee's here. Hi, Aylee. How are you? And Gabrielle Jennings. And Gabrielle, as we mentioned, is the Associate Chair of Master of Fine Arts. And so they're going to have a little dialogue about your work and what's behind it. And, you know, the title of this exhibition is Reveal. So it's really like behind the work that we see. So really the concept, the thinking, the theory.
Thank you, James. I'm Gabrielle Jennings, as James said, Associate Chair of the Grad Art Program. And this is Aylee Rhodes, who is about to graduate the end of this term. She is working towards her final show, and we'd love to dig into the work here.
Yeah.
I'd like to first start with this poster, and as James said, there's an element here of process where you really opened up your usually private process to the viewer, and so I'm hoping you can walk us through this, but beforehand, I would love for you to just tell us the background. How did you come to ArtCenter, and what were you doing before?
Yeah, so I grew up in Los Angeles in the 90s, and I went to undergrad in Santa Barbara at a place called Brooks Institute, which is no longer in operation, and it's very much a technical photography school, commercial based. And after that, I worked in the industry for about 10 years, mostly doing product commercial photography, mostly food, beverage, jewelry, really technical, small things. And then during the pandemic, when everything shut down, I really kind of took that opportunity to start exploring my artistic side. And how that kind of manifested was me driving around the places I grew up and kind of observing the buildings and photographing them and kind of paying homage to my hometown. And you can see this psychic building is the first kind of version of these kind of photos that I took, and it kind of really represents what I love about the weirdness of my home the most, the beauty and the strangeness and the kind of cultural mystery of Los Angeles.
That's great. So would you just walk us through quickly you have it broken down into research, process, and outcome. And I just wonder if you would tell us what we're looking at here.
Yeah, so what I included in the research was there's actually some still shots of movies, because I think my first kind of experience of art was watching movies. And when you grow up in Los Angeles, that's what you do. You're surrounded by people who work in the industry. So movies are huge. And I think of like Michel Gondry and P.T. Anderson and these kind of radical, very artistic, expressionist filmmakers that kind of really, I think, like set my foundation for my aesthetic. And so I kind of included that. And also with that is this kind of Tumblr, because I was very much came of age with the internet. I think I was 12 when MySpace came out. And so I think my mind was very polluted with these new platforms where anyone could upload these images, and they were always nameless, and it was very much this kind of like Wild West of imagery. And I think it really kind of informed how I consumed art in this like really free, like just mass media way.
Polluted or inspired.
Inspired, yes, exactly.
And then how about this? I see maybe some Photoshop.
Yes. So usually I would not talk about this if with a casual viewer, but since this, is an opportunity to kind of reveal my process, these images are very, very heavily photoshopped. So you see this is the end image, but this was the original one where you see trees, telephone lines, all these shops in the back. So what I did really is like strip away the excess, because I've wanted them really to like kind of mimic how memory acts too, and how we kind of like our focal perspective kind of keys in on these certain aspects, and we kind of like, the excess just fades away.
So same with this Greyhound bus depot.
Yes.
There were lines and telephone lines and other things, and yet they've been stripped away, almost an invisible sort of redaction, right?
Yeah.
And do you think about these in the same way? Is there something else that this was doing?
Yeah, I think like growing up in any kind of urban environment, will never actually be a sky that looks like that. Anytime you look at a sky, there's telephone poles, there's billboards, there's all these things that kind of get in the way of, the true like essence and purity of like one building or something. And so I almost wanted to treat these buildings as monuments that kind of stand on their own. And I was also very inspired by dioramas in natural history museums, where they're kind of these like strange, like a caveman walking, and it has this kind of like muddy, weird background.
They have ethereal backgrounds.
A very ethereal, and also it's like these cavemen, you don't know who they are really. It's kind of like everyday life that they're trying to capture.
And so here there's some more examples, and then this sort of shows how you show them.
Yes.
You would show them in a gallery setting, and framed and large scale.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. And also, I took Gabrielle's publishing class last term, and I made zines of them, which I found a very successful way in showing these.
This is the Graduate Art Press. It's a class that I teach with Elise Coe from MDP, Media Design Practices, and it is a publishing class for all graduate students.
Yeah, and it was really fun because we got the opportunity to really like show it to the public. We had a couple opportunities to have like little booths and sell them and have like a really, engagement and see what they responded to. And I found that with photos, there's something about the switching page to page that really spoke to people.
Right, you got to sort of put together different kinds of collections.
Yeah.
You showed them at Hauser and Wirth in the garden. We had a print fair, and then you did show them again at Printed Matter.
Yes.
Which was great on the ArtCenter campus. This is another book that Aylee made with another group of work that uses trophies
with found medical slides.
And you have some of those slides right here on the table. How do I open that?
Yeah,
those were from eBay, yeah?
Yeah, and the trophies too. I collect a lot of objects. Yeah, I don't know if you can like see, like look at this person's hands, gross feet. I think that's gangrene or something.
Let me ask you, while we're on the topic of slides and older buildings, I feel like there's a nostalgia here in your work, and we also have an old television, and we can see video snow on this TV.
Yeah.
And what else? There's a real nostalgic feel with this architecture.
Yeah.
Is dated. There is a certain sort of maybe 70s aesthetic here. Will you talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think in one of my classes we're talking a lot about the archive right now, and this kind of this just kind of mass graveyard of content everywhere, and like how, I don't know, I feel a great anxiety as a contemporary artist trying to make anything new. Like everything's been done. And so like for me, I've found like real importance in kind of like mining the past. And I think there's a general kind of longing to return to analog in some way. There's something about the materiality that speaks to the digital age for some reason. I think it's just human nature that we want to touch and feel things, and this really speaks to it. So I think it's like a love letter to that. It's longing, it's nostalgia, it's kind of a yearning for the past. And with that, it's problematic in some ways, because you could never go home, really. And I think that's what these pictures tell us too, is we can never go home.
That's right. That's really sort of poetic and beautiful, which leads me to want to look at the handwritten sort of little drawings here. And actually, in a weird way, sort of makes me think about the topic of your thesis. And you wrote about Sophie Kahl's work, and she's mostly works in photography, but also the diaristic and love letters sort of tie in there. And then surveillance, and that's a lot of layers there. Do you want to unpack some of that, what you sort of found out by writing that thesis in relation to your work?
I think, well, she calls herself a romantic conceptualist, like truly feminine. Like there's a power in her femininity, and she didn't run away from that. And I feel like in art, sometimes it can be a machismo contest, and Sophia really kind of indulged her romantic sensibility, and I feel kind of the urge to that. I feel like I'm a lover girl ultimately, and kind of like want to see like the romance and beauty and things. But like on the flip side, there is like this creepiness to that, which she explores in a really interesting way. And with surveillance, to see surveillance as a love letter, and like, because like I take these actually from my car. I have a tripod mounted in my car to the window for safety reasons, because that's so I can drive way fast if someone comes after me. But there's a very much like me behind glass and the world. And I think that kind of safety behind a camera is really kind of a lot of what my thesis was about.
Right, absolutely. And I see it now as you move into your final term here and thinking about your final show. You told us you were going to take a road trip, which may or may not have been exactly what you thought it would be, but it is this continuum of taking pictures from your car, of having sort of the safety and intimacy of being in the car, and yet finding a subjectivity onto the world.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about, I know this is initial ideas about your
Yes.
final show, which I'm super excited about.
Yeah, it's definitely in the early, I did try to take a road trip over the break, but there were certain things out of my control that stopped me. But I think that's kind of a part of it. I'm very much like at the mercy with this kind of work of like the outside world, and I have to kind of adapt to that, which I think also is the kind of feminine beauty of it too, is you're ultimately not in control, and you have to kind of adapt and change and mold and, you know, see the opportunity in things and not see it as a failure, even though it's been kind of hard for me.
And so you're moving into this. Do you want to give us a little sneak peek, like in one sentence, about what you're thinking about for the show? Or are you not there yet? It's fine if
I'm
you're
not really there yet. I will say I've been thinking about, because my other work is a lot about the body, and I'm kind of morphing into thinking of these buildings as bodies, and how our bodies change, and how like states of decay and beauty and the temporal kind of nature of our surroundings and how they relate to our body. So yeah, that's what I have so far.
Great. We're so excited to see your work continue to evolve. I know you're putting together a show before your final show. We'll advertise on the Graduate Art Instagram, and we want everyone to come out and see the show.
Thanks, Aylee. Thanks so much. I had so many thoughts as you two were talking about this and the work I feel. It's so poetic, and I looked at some of the books you have there. It really makes me think of a lot of the, in architecture we have these urban theorists like, J.B. Jackson and Donald Appleyard who are really obsessed with this idea of the American roadside,
Yeah.
In a way. And I feel like that's kind of like your journey is bubbling up from this too.
Yeah.
I really enjoy the direction of this dialogue, and I'm looking forward to seeing what you, do next.
Thank you so much.
Sure, absolutely. Well, thanks again. I mean, this is really worth it as our last Black Box thesis talk for this show. But please stay tuned, everybody. We are going to have another iteration opening in March, and that'll be called Continuum, and we'll be featuring other thesis works, and we'll have some other talks as well. So thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.